Welcome to another talk on our Inspiring Conversation series with myself, Bindhu Unny. I am an executive coach, marketeer, and facilitator. I help people create impact in their lives by dipping into their inner potential and really expanding the range. The idea behind these inspiring conversations is to give you a different perspective, a different point of view on how you can deal with things as we survive, thrive during these very unique times. Like I say, we are in the midst of creating history, and it is our responsibility to also strengthen the people around us, and that can happen only if we cultivate strength within us. So these talks are meant to give that inspiration to you as you inspire the people around you. Today we have Roma Khetarpal with us on our Inspiring Conversation series. Hi, Roma.
Hi, Bindhu. How are you?
Good, thank you. And thank you for being part of our series. Let me just give a quick introduction first before we proceed. Roma is the author of The Perfect Parent, 5 Tools for Using Your Inner Perfection to Connect with Your Kids, and is the founder and CEO of Tools of Growth. Through Tools of Growth, she helps parents raise kids to be happy, think positive, and do good. A dream for every parent. Through her book, parenting classes, community outreach, educational workshops, and the Tools of Growth blog, Roma provides parents and other caregivers with simple, easy to remember, and effective communication tools that help them build a strong foundation and a lasting relationship with their children. Roma is also the originator of a groundbreaking school program, the Mindful Play Leaders Program for school classified staff, teachers, and junior lifeguard instructors. She has currently impacted over 40,000 students and children, both in the public and private sector. Roma has been brought up in Kuwait and likes to call herself the Middle East kid. And now she lives in Los Angeles area with her husband, Harry, and are proud parents of 2 adult children, Natasha and Naveen. Roma, welcome, welcome, welcome to yet another series.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What a fabulous introduction it is. Very rarely do you listen to like the whole thing on your own. So it was nice. Thank you so much. It was great delivery.
Thank you. Today I have a personal situation, and I'm going to tell you up front, so then you can, and then we'll start off from there. So I'm this huge advocate, at least in the 6 weeks prior to this week, where I'm a strong advocate of the fact that I don't think kids should have too much screen time, and I'm very, I was very strict, firm about it, and control that space a lot, because I just thought it's just way too much screen exposure. But now there's a shift that I can notice in myself, because I can see that technology is an enabler, and the screen is helping us reach out. But I still continue to have this dilemma with my daughter, where all her learning, everything happens on the screen. Conversation with friends, grandparents, everything happens on the screen. So I'm like in this transformation shift, and a bit of a struggle. So I'm just trying to see, what are your thoughts on this?
So I think it's so interesting that, we've been butting heads as parents, and I'll speak as parents, and of course this applies in every relationship, but we've been butting heads with technology for a very long time. For the last 4 years in particular, I have to say this has been the number one topic that all of us mindful parenting experts get asked about. It's the first question that every parent asks me in private consultations. I have consultations that are specifically just to address technology and how I'm going crazy. And yesterday I lost my cool and I ended up using a bad word with my child, and I'm seeing myself have this like out of body, crazy experience of competing with technology. You see, we're competing with technology. Drop the technology, spend more time with me. Leave that and come sit here with the family. Stop that and come talk, right? So this is almost like we're feeling that we've been thrown in the background and technology is in the forefront, right? And this battle has been going on for quite some time with us. And interestingly enough, slowly but surely over the course of the last decade, for those of us that have school-going children over the course of the last decade, we've seen that education is relying more and more heavily on technology. Even the communication between the school staff and teachers and parents is more on technology today than it is in person. So this battle has literally, I think, with all the circumstances of being in this coronavirus time, this battle has surfaced to the forefront and is eventually starting to calm down, because parents are realizing that the example that we're giving our children is not good, because we can ask them to stay away from technology when we ourselves are heavily reliant with our own work on technology, right? And with our own connection with our own families and parents and siblings and friends. So we've all sort of started to share the ground that our children walk on with technology. We're all in this together in the way of technology, just as much as we are all in this together in the way of supporting each other as a global community during this time of high fear. So if we look at what the crux, what is the foundation, the cause of that battle and that butting heads with children on technology and around technology, it's fear, right? It's all fear-based. If our kids are on screen too much, then they will learn their capacity to connect in a human way. If our kids are on screens too much, then science and research tells us that it affects their moods, it affects their sleep, it affects our well-being, and all of this is true. So when we are functioning from fear, obviously our tone of voice, the words that we use with our kids, is very much in line with that. We are going to bark out at them. We are going to lash out at them, because now, we're coming from that place of fear. I think that we are now living in this era of technology with COVID, that we're really starting to understand this is a time for us to understand what it feels like to be them. Their whole world is technology forward. And now our world has become technology forward. So now we're sharing this space with our kids and really coming to technology with that understanding, with that self-realization. It's coming to technology less from a place of being self-centered, where I want these kids to stop doing this right now, to becoming more aware of technology is a platform that is helping us all survive. It's helping us keep our jobs. It's helping us stay connected. It's helping us stay informed. It's helping us stay entertained. And this was life for our children even before this became life for us. So I hope that we're going to come into this with some more empathy, with some more compassion, with some more kindness, and some more understanding. If we understand what it is like for the other human being, in this case, our children, then we come to it naturally in a more empathetic way. So number one is coming from that space. When we go back to our lives that are not as technology driven, excuse me, that are, like life used to be, although I doubt that many of us will go back to that sort of non-technology driven life. These reminders of this time of how we shared that space peacefully with our children, empathetically with our children. This should remain as the new space that we function from in relation to conversations about technology. Yes. Now, of course, the science and the research still remains. We all know, for those of us that are working through Zoom, I mean, just between Monday and today here is Wednesday for us, I've done 4 Zoom conferences per day if I were to average it out. And staying on Zoom. And right before this, I was for 4 days in a UCLA cohort in a learning environment with, a few 50, 60 other people. And that was again, 12, 14 hours a day on Zoom. So the effects we all know and are feeling, it is exhausting to our body. So then where's the balance? And it is, you do lose sleep. Look at us, we all wake up and we grab our phones first. We've dropped what our usual routine used to be, whatever that might be, whether to do a little bow, to do a little thank you, a little gratitude, or to walk into the kids' rooms to say good morning to them first, or even to yoga, meditate, whatever our own morning routines were, those are now done with a device in our hands. Now we're holding the phone first and checking the updates on the information that's coming through. Yes. So, excuse me. So it's important for us to understand that, yes, there's a research, and that, yes, there is the downside of the overuse of technology. And now that we understand and empathize and have felt the shared space of the importance of technology, now marrying the two and drawing the boundaries and guidelines in a way that's palpable, that's digestible for our children. So it's all in the delivery. That's all. Just talking to them in an empathetic way. I understand that you really need to use this technology, and I understand that you need to do this right now to stay connected with your friends. However, can we draw some guidelines around this? Because you know what the research says. This is exhausting for you. You've mentioned that to me yourself, because kids oftentimes will say they'll throw away their phones or whatever technology device they're on and say, I need a break, I'm so tired. So they know this. Yes. So making this a communication hook, if you will, having this discussion with them in a way that's communication forward. What is communication? Commune, if you look at the base word. Commune meaning to come together. Communication is not, I told you what I needed to tell you, now you're not a good listener. Communication is, how did I deliver this information so that I could pull my child, as in your case, Bindhu, on the same platform so that we can have a discussion about it. Not necessarily agree upon it, but at least have a discussion about it. And the first tool for us to do that as parents is to check ourselves and the space that we're coming from. So a tool that I love to use is called STOP. STOP. So S for stop or pause, right? Just take that stop. T for take a breath. O for observe. And P for then proceed. Stop, take a breath, observe, proceed. And let me break that down for you with this particular example.
Okay.
So you stop and pause, then you take a breath, and then you observe what is rising within me. And if you take that 1 second to observe, and this is the difference between reactive and responsive. To be a reactive parent or to be a responsible parent. When we say I'm responsible, I'm a very responsible parent, we better live up to that. Responsible is response-able. It's the fusion of the two words, right? I have the ability to respond. That's what makes you a responsible parent. So being responsible in this moment first requires you to self-manage. So stop, take a breath, observe what's coming in me, how the emotions are rising within me. And if you need to sit there with the emotion and let it exit, then please by all means do that. Dr. Jill Bolte-Taylor has the 90-second emotion rule that she advocates. It takes 90 seconds for the chemical surge in our body from an emotion to dissipate and to leave our body, to exit through the bloodstream, 90 seconds. So in that observe, if you can buy that 90 seconds, and 90 seconds can be 9 breaths, can be 5 sips of water. I've timed these because I give these to parents all the time. You're wondering, like, how does she know the minutes on the second one?
Yes.
No, I practiced it on myself with my own children, and that's how I give the tool to the parents. When my kids were young, I used to do this with them, and they do it now. They're adult kids. When they need to talk to us and they're upset about something and they know this is going to flare up, they sit with that water and take a few sips, and knowing that, it's a great way to self-regulate. So in that in that observe, self-regulate, bring yourself back to calm. And if you feel that the emotion and the chaos is too much, don't talk about it. Take a step back. Nothing is going to happen if you don't talk about the demons of technology now in this moment. You can take a 5-minute break and come back and say, okay, I needed to calm down so then I could have this conversation with you. In doing that, there's another beautiful side to this. When we do that, we're exemplifying to kids not to come from a place of heightened emotions in discussions, because those heightened emotions then lead to arguments.
Yeah.
Right? So using STOP, using that stop technique, and managing yourself, and then communicating with your child in a compassionate way, from a place of understanding. That, I have a lot of tools in my book. I have dealing with the feeling, how to emotionally manage with children. There's so many tools, but just taking that self-regulation moment for yourself is huge in being able to deliver the message in a way that's effective. That's the key, is communication should be effective. Not I'm a really good communicator because I said it all, because I know how to express what I'm feeling myself. Effective communication is when you can come to a discussion about this, even if you end up disagreeing.
Absolutely. And I think it's about also meeting them where they are. And the only way we can do it is to kind of stop, take a breath. And in that observation, you brought up a very good point about coming from that space of fear. So while we observe, if we can actually understand, if am I coming from a place of just kind of fear, and I want to lash out and I want to say everything I want to say, or do I want to come from a place of compassion and see how we can have a conversation about it and then proceed and move ahead? So I really love the way you kind of made it so simple and just did STOP.
Yeah, it's really simple. It's honestly, it takes a little practice, when you take up a workout routine, right? And you say, now I'm going to start going to the gym, or I'm going to start working out, or now at home, this whole, health and fitness has become such a challenge with everybody at home. But once you decide that you're going to do it, it does take that muscle, right? That inner muscle of your dedication, your compassion, your will to make it work. So you might be able to do it 3 days in a row, and then one day, man, I missed my workout again today, and then go back on for 3 days, and then you get into a rhythm. It's similarly this muscle of awareness, this muscle of mindfulness, as it's called, this muscle of awareness takes a little practice. So if you commit to it, and you'll get ahead of it 2-3 times, and then you'll falter one time, you'll just lash out and you'll have an outburst of emotion, and that's fine. Don't be hard on yourself about that, and then get back at it. So just build that muscle of communication with your children, and it takes a little time. But I think you brought up a really good point, Bindhu, about meeting them in the moment. That meeting in the moment has happened. We have met them now in technology where they are. That's happened very organically. Right? We've met them. We've met them. Now we know what it feels like. Now can we hold this space of understanding with them, the space of connection with them, the space of delivering a message responsibly. This is not to say that we are not to draw boundaries and guidelines for children around technology. It's an absolute must, but have them involved in that plan. Let them know, put your guard down and say, now I get what your world is like. Now I feel it because I'm working and living life the way you've been living life. And I'm so sorry for that disconnect, but I just didn't know. And here we are. I'm so excited to share this space with you. Can we work on this together? Because I really want us to communicate effectively on this. Can we work on this together? Like, can we draw some boundaries and guidelines? Because now I understand what you're feeling, but yet, there's research here, that, overuse can leave you exhausted and lack of sleep. And we don't want any of that to happen. So let's come up together with a plan. And obviously, if they're old enough to use technology in the excessive amounts, then they're old enough to have this conversation with you.
And I think old enough is, I think most kids are there in terms of having this conversation because it's about empowering them, right? The moment we kind of empower them, they're ready to kind of meet us halfway through. And then it's not about young or old. I think they'll kind of be, I mean, as young as I think 4 or 5, I'm sure they'll be able to communicate what they need and what we need, especially if they know that we're on the same page and we're not like butting heads with them, like you mentioned earlier.
So,
So, yes,
you
go
know, at age 4 and 5, as far as child development is concerned, they don't have, their mind has not developed enough
ahead.
to have this type of conversation.
Okay.
And at age 4 or 5, they're not using technology to this excessive amount anyways, right? At ages 4 or 5, you know, they have limited time. We hope as parenting experts and leaders that children are at age 4 and 5 are not sitting on technology for over 2 hours a day or 3 hours a day. If they have some schoolwork involved, then that should be part of this 2-3 hours. And I would probably up that by an hour if it is school is involved at that point at age 4 or 5. But honestly, not until age 7, not until they get to those early elementary years, 6 and 7, should children be on technology for this extended period of time. And you have to kind of take the lead. Parenting is about the balance, about giving the children that space to communicate effectively with them, and also knowing that you're the parent. And in taking that lead and letting them know that this is okay and this is not okay, and this is how we're going to do it. Where we falter is in how we deliver our boundaries and guidelines. So if we can stay focused on our delivery, then we make the conversation more effective and more applicable and more practical with our children. That's when we create connections, is when we can communicate effectively. And the whole point is to connect with our kids, really. We don't want to lose that connection with them, especially at busy times like this.
Yes, yes. Wow. Thank you so much, Roma. That was a very simple tool that you gave us on such a complex, complicated, full of emotion topic that I think as parents we're all like constantly battling against. But now it's not so much of a battle because we are in it, so it doesn't seem like that anymore. But thank you so much for giving such a simple tool.
Not at all. My pleasure, Bindu, and thank you for having me.
One last question: where can people find you if they want to know more about what you do and if they want to reach out to you?
Sure, you can go to my website at toolsofgrowth.com, TOOLSOFGROWTH, so toolsofgrowth.com. All my social media handles are there. I'm on Instagram and, of course, Facebook, and you name it. I've got so many handles. You'll see all the little icons there. Just click and it'll take you to the handles, and you'll find me either at Tools of Growth or Roma Khet, which is my personal handle on all of these platforms.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Roma, and talk to you soon.